Hey, muy buenas tardes, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. As always, muchas gracias to everyone for everyone's words, wishes, prayers, and the love you guys extend and share with me. From the heart, thank you. Also, do please like, share, and subscribe, and do help support the message or the channel. Thank you. Well, to get into the topic on hand today. Well, today's a little bit different. I want to touch on something that currently happened out here in Mexico that, I've been asked quite a bit, and for one reason or another, I prefer not to touch on it, right? Mainly because of the heat this dude had. And I'm speaking about the death, if you want to call it, of another YouTuber, right? Which is Camilo Choa, or how a lot of people call him on YouTube, right? El alucin, which I know him different, right? I know him as El pollo loco, right? At least when I got here, that's how he was known by the placazo he was known, right? He was always called alucin, but overall, when you were dressing homeboy, that wasn't his placazo, his nickname. But first, allow me to touch in on what the lies that are going around with the news out here, right? Which is basically, a faction out here in Sinaloa where I'm at. They gun it for him, which is true, you know, and but it's actually not the one that, or it's not the reason why all these news are thinking. Of course, it had a big play in things, right? For example, those that used to connect with Dude's channel know it's one thing not agreeing with this individual, right? And speaking with respect, your disagreement. There's another thing when you join a different faction, when you already messed up when you were part of it, but you still joined the faction going to war with him, giving in information, right? Basically, let's not say attacking, right? But you're funding that other faction that's going against him, and at the same time come on YouTube and make fun of the other faction. That's the biggest thing that I think we could say speed up his demise, right? Which was him making fun of calling out on names, and it's not like it happened here and then he left it alone. It was 2, 3 times a day, and he had subscribers. He had almost 400,000 subscribers, right? So it reached out there. But anyways, the last two, not yesterday, the day before, excuse me, or no, I apologize. Yesterday, they finally tapped him where he was at, and they gunned him down at his home. Of course, he was running from the individual, whoever it was, right? That went in and did it, because he was challenging them as well, right? Paying security, I ain't scared, come, I'm here. Homeboy grew up having a lot of feria. So he felt he was going to always be protected. For those that don't know, his dad was the creator of El Pollo Loco, and his uncles were Pollo Feliz. He comes from a very wealthy family, and he felt protected. They had already gone after him they were going to kill him and his whole family, right? For being loudmouth. That's what alucin stands for, right? Loudmouth, and challenging them. And he got scared, took off, but then he came back and rented a spot, and he built everything again, because again, he was a money kid, right? Man, and thing is, right? All these people come on here and they speak about, oh, this faction, or F this, and they don't even know what they're speaking on. Yes, you were allowed in, and yes, it's true, a lot of what he speaks that we're getting in right now, right? But how are you gonna go from Mexico City, going to Morelos, to a town specifically that's controlled by the person you're taunting, by the people that's going against those you're funding with information, with money, but you're in that town where they have control? That's really thinking you're smarter than the whole government, right? But anyways, that's what the news state, right? They found him dead at his home, hidden in a bathroom. They put 7 in him, right? No guards. He didn't even have a weapon to defend himself, which It's just me, If you felt that strongly about something, you should know this is Mexico. It's gonna eventually hit your door, right? There's not, it might, no, it's when. But anyways, to each their own, right? But allow me to take you back to 2020, 21, excuse me. But it was around them two, right? At the end of 2020 or beginning 2021. For those that have been hearing my story, I actually told a story where we went out to Wasabi's, we did some things, and we actually got arrested out there, right? And of course, Wasabi belongs to a certain individual, so we got stomped in, right? Until we had certain people actually get our transfer to the pen or prison in Mazatlan, Sinaloa, which was more control over what you see now, Mayo's, Chapo's, and the rest of the families, right? Which in all, it was cool. At the time, as I stated also, we were we were cleaning house, whatever was left behind of the Damasos, the Damaso Lopez, licenciado, mini licenciado, all the people that were with them were cleaning house. And, in the meetings, there was a lot of Simon, this, and that. But like I stated before, here is a scandalous world, right? Palabra don't mean nothing out here, at least amongst the Wiggles, right? For example, Shorty's people, right? His side of the faction and his kids, they were in agreement, right? Nobody from that side of the muscles was going to be able to pay their way back in, right? And it was understood. Same with the other guys. Nevertheless, when we landed in Mazatlan, I had orders, which was to hunt and take out el pollo loco. Cause it's true, but he stated that, at one point he was, jefe de plaza for, not for El Chapo, but for the muscles. Within time, they couldn't keep up with the war. And he states that he pulled out and he went against, but nah. See, this individual always had money, so he paid his people out of pocket, not depending on the muscles. So of course, by him paying out of pocket, he felt he was boss, but that he was never, right? Nevertheless, in the time he got arrested, right? It's he had no need for this. You see, he got kidnapped by the Zetas, and I think something sparked in him that he wanted to be in that world. My personal belief, right? But I could be wrong. But again, he was in alucin, right? So anyways, when we hit Mazatlan, while we were there, our goal was, at least mine, I'm not gonna include other people with me, was to go ahead and pull this fool's wig, right? But we couldn't touch him. You see, in the prisons in Mexico, money talks. Fool paid direction to have him in his own win, his own cell, away from everybody. Again, his family is multi-millionaire, as himself, right? And while we were there is when he caught that bus up to Los Mochis where he did his time, because they offer him better protection out there, right? And when I got out there, I had seen Homeboy, right? And I seen this little old man really didn't look like nothing but a big mouth, right? Because I heard stories, there's no need to talk ill. But started asking why. You see, that's where all this news, they have all this information that, Homeboy till date, he wasn't just working. When he went to Los Mochis, he gave all his people, his contacts and stuff to Los Chapitos. That's why he was allowed to even start coming back to Sinaloa, right? And you could say he was forgiven. Nobody was in agreement with, but he paid a good lump of money, I guess, whatever. And everything came out to flow. That's why I say it's all trash here, right? For example, why they really wanted him was because, again, alucin is a big mouth show of person, right? First off, just recently, what was it, a year ago, he got caught that he was giving information out about Lechuga or Chore that led to his demise, right? From Los Chapitos. But where it really stung is that everybody knew, at least if you're from here, you knew that El Pollo Loco, as they call him again, basically always lifted his head saying he was Juancho's right-hand man. For those that don't know who Juancho is, what's Chapo's cousin, his right-hand man, the one he trusted the most. But Juancho would eventually be discovered by someone Chapo to be a snitch working with the DEA, you know, and he basically he's the one that had Chapo's brother Pollo arrested, and it's when the Beltranes took him out in jail, right? So Chapo never forgive that, you know. Yeah, he basically had his own cousin Juancho killed. Is when homeboy got kicked to the curb basically, and I heard he was insisting with the Tomasos till he offered lots of money, and they had him join the people in Mazatlan. He was just a pawn, right? As they all were. Again, he spoke with a lot of money because he had it, so he felt some type of way. But they recently discovered, not recently, about 2 years ago, when all this started, right? When the war started, that this individual was actually talking to the DEA to go against the Mayos. So, Mexico has a funny way. I'm just gonna say that. A lot of people here are blaming the Zambadas. No, please hear what I'm telling you. He was Juancho's right hand man. That was the strongest sicario of El Chapo at the time. Moved everything you guys can think of for El Chapo. Started giving everything up to the DEA with his right hand monkey, right? Which was this individual. And they got El Chapo's brother killed. And El Chapo eventually ended up putting a hit that killed Juancho as this individual. But he paid the Damascus to allow him to go to Mazatlan and keep pushing. You see, he's always been on the ropes. What they didn't like was him recently working hand in hand with the DEA. I never really tripped on his channel, right? Just as I spoke behind the scenes about him. But I heard he has some crazy stuff, recorded stuff, that you guys know it's real obvious when it don't come from people out here, right? And what hurt the most is he had El Mayo's grandkid on recording, basically making fun of his uncle, what you see today. And he just constantly get making fun of these individuals, right? But again, the question now I'm asking is, how you gonna go from Mexico City to a place that belongs to dysfunction, to this side that's you're pushing real hard for? But again, a lot of people think that money talks out here in Mexico, right? But they forget that government, that with these main individuals, you're not part of that. They're gonna take your money, but they're gonna play you as dumb, you know? But I think it's sad, homeboy, he was doing his thing. At one point, he did have the people in Mazatlan. When I got out there hunting them individuals, he was already in jail, right? When I got out is when they told me all the history. Basically, a lot of people think that it's because he made fun of this faction. No. Since 2004, I believe, 2002, he's been known to be a DEA's number one snitch with Juancho. And about a year ago, he gave up Lechuga or El Chore as El Mayo's grandkid. And that's what really stung, and he kept pressing on that wound, right? But again, all that money to go into the wolf's cave, you guys make it make sense, right? I mean, it's just a matter of time. But again, since he felt he was untouchable, because he was with government, he had money. But have you guys seen the ones that stay behind hurting? He had two beautiful kids and a wife, right? A lot of money. Everyone telling you why. But yeah, so yesterday I believe they took out the YouTuber dash snitch one time jefe of something out, Camilo Choa. But it's just how things are right now, Like I said, there's a new list coming out. I'm gonna be happy to share with everybody. I seen videos on this individual that a lot of people think, well, I'll just leave it alone, Stay blessed, everyone. Certain topics, know your area. I'm just gonna say that. But with this, I hope I make sense, everyone. I just wanted to touch in. I've been asked a lot about this individual, but I didn't touch on it because he had a lot of heat on him that wasn't out in the open. He was never a smart individual, though, right? But anyways, with that said, hope everybody continues to have a great Sunday. God bless. Stay true to yourself and loyal to loved ones.